Okay, this is position 71 on my calendar. Today is August 29th, 2022. My name is Brad Gardner. I'm going to be the presiding Magistrate Court Judge over this preliminary hearing. This case is the state of Georgia versus Cameron Patton. Mr. Patton is charged in warrant number 2022 CW 53586 with committing the offense of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He's charged in warrant number 2022 CW 53587 with committing the offense of armed robbery. He's represented here today by attorney Rogers, who's present in court. Mr. Patton is also present in court. The state is represented by attorney Pitts, who's present here. Ms. Pitts, would you swear in your witness and present your case?
Yes, Sean. Detective Walker, with your right hand raised, do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony that you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Thank you. If you'll state your name and your agency.
Detective A. Walker, Clayton County Police Department.
And Detective Walker, how long have you been with the Clayton County Police Department?
Over 8 years.
And what is your position with the Clayton County Police Department?
Detective.
Okay, and as a detective, what are your duties?
I typically work crimes against children's cases. However, I also do work homicide sometimes.
Okay. And bringing your attention specifically to June 30th of 2022, were you working in your official capacity as a detective with the Clayton County Police Department?
I was.
Are you post-certified?
I am.
Did you have an occasion to respond to 681 Flint River Road in reference to a call?
I personally did not respond on that day.
Okay.
Actually, uniform patrol officers responded and the case was forwarded to me.
Okay. So as a detective, you're not the first responding officer, but you became involved in this case. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did this incident occur at 681 Flint River Road?
It actually occurred at the waste parking lot.
I'm sorry, where?
I'm just trying to be.
No, I want you to be clear. Go ahead.
The actual incident occurred in the Wayfield parking lot.
Okay.
Right on Tara Boulevard.
Okay.
I can give you the exact address if you need it.
The Wayfield parking lot that you're making reference to on Tara Boulevard, is that location in Clayton County?
Yes.
Okay. So that's where it began.
Yes.
If you will tell the court, what was your reasoning for responding to that location and what happened?
Okay. The case was actually, like I said, was forwarded to me. When I got the case, the first thing I did do was go interview the victim, Nathan Mayer. He advised me that on that day of the shooting, he and 3 other gentlemen went to the Wayfield grocery store. Nathan went inside the grocery store. He withdrew $500 out of the ATM. He stated that once he came outside of the Wayfield grocery store, he observed Cameron in a silver Camaro. Did not know the tag at the time, but he saw Cameron. Cameron waved him over. He stated that he got inside the car.
Okay, let me stop you right there. How did Nathan know Cameron?
They went to school together. They went to
middle school, correct?
Middle school.
Okay.
So at the time, he didn't know the driver, but he knew Cameron. Cameron was sitting in the back seat. He stated that once he got inside the car, Cameron was already in the back seat. And about 15 seconds later, Cameron pulled the gun on him and told him to give it up. Shortly after that, the car took off.
Which car?
The silver Chevy Camaro.
Okay.
Now his friends was still in the white car because they were all still together except for one.
Okay.
He stated that they pulled out of the parking lot, turned left on Tara Boulevard. According to Nathan, they was going about 70 miles per hour. He tried to jump out the car. And once he jumped out the car, the driver actually shot him. And he fell out the car and the Camaro kept going.
Okay.
Now, I was able to go to Wayfield, look at the video recording of the vehicle. Based on what the victim stated, it happened that way. Actually, the Chevy Camaro pulled next to a white Sebring, next to each other.
And was the
Actually-
white Sebring with Nathan and his other 3 friends were in?
Actually, at that time, it was 2, because
Correct.
another friend left.
And the 4 of them came there to drop the one who left off at work at the Wayfield, correct?
Yes, one of them
Okay.
worked at Wayfield. So
Okay.
he wasn't in the car at the time of the shooting of the white Sebring.
Okay.
So, like I said, you had the Chevy Camaro and the white Sebring, according to the camera footage. They pulled next to each other. You actually see Nathan get in the car. Shortly after that, the car takes off and the passenger side door is kind of open. So, fortunately, I accessed Flock. And Flock was able to pick up the vehicle, the silver Camaro, on Tara Boulevard shortly, at the same time of the shooting.
Okay. And Flock, just for edification, those are the traffic cameras?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
So,
go ahead.
Also, Nathan was able to tell me.
Object here at this point. It's not responsible. I don't even know what the question is that Detective Walker is currently answering. So I'm going to object to the non-responsive or calling for a narrative.
Okay, I believe he was testifying in narrative form about what allegedly happened.
Your Honor, I have no problem asking some follow-up questions.
Okay,
Detective Walker, you were able to view the surveillance video,
Yes,
and that surveillance video was consistent with what the victim reported to you.
yes.
Did Nathan receive any medical treatment for anything?
Yes, he did go to Grady Hospital.
And what was that for?
Gunshot wound in the left leg.
Okay. And was that consistent with what he reported?
Yes.
Your observation of the flock cameras, the traffic cameras, what, if anything, did you see?
We actually found the tag, and the vehicle was consistent with his testimony because he stated that the vehicle came out of the Wayfield and made a left on Flint River.
Okay.
And that's how the flock caught the vehicle.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do after you accessed the flock cameras?
Well, we did run the tag of the vehicle. The tag did come to someone, not Cameron, but it did come to someone. As of right now, that is still being investigated.
Did you have an opportunity to speak to Nathan?
I did attempt to speak with him.
No, Nathan, the victim.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nathan. Yes, I did.
Okay, and what, if anything, did he tell you about the money that he had withdrawn?
Oh, he did state that the money was taken from him.
And who was the money taken? Okay, go ahead.
As he was getting out of the car, he stated that they took the money from him.
Okay, and when you say they, did he positively identify Cameron as participating in the taking of that money?
He did.
Okay, did he actually tell you the specific words that Cameron spoke to him while he held a gun on him?
Cameron was in the back seat.
And did he say what Cameron said?
Yes, he did.
Okay, can you tell the court what he told you that Cameron said?
He stated that Cameron told him to give it up 2 times.
Okay. Did you have an occasion to review any criminal history as it pertains to Cameron?
Yes, I did.
And would you tell the court what, if anything, you found out?
I found out that he was out on bond for.
I'm going to object to. I'm not sure, unless and I'm just double checking, but to my knowledge, Ms. Patton's not being alleged to be a possession of anything, I guess, that would prohibit him from being in possession of the firearm. So I'm not sure where we're going with this as far as the relevance to the charges.
Your Honor, I believe that the fact that the defendant is currently on bond in an open case out of Clayton County, the court can take that into consideration.
Yeah, I would object again still to relevance. That's not an adjudication. So if the fact that someone has been accused of a crime by somebody is somehow relevant, then I mean that pretty much destroys the purpose of relevance. It's not relevant to whether or not he committed the crime that is alleged, or whether or not there's probable cause to charge him with it because somebody else has accused him of something. So I would object to relevance.
Your Honor, similar transactions are allowed in trials. I am certain that information and accusations of conduct of similar in nature are allowed for a preliminary hearing for a court to make an informed decision.
Similar transactions also require notice of 404, which I have not been provided with. So to the extent that the state wants to go that route, then I would suggest that they provide notice.
Okay, I'm going to listen to the testimony, and I want you to link it up, Ms. Pitts.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rogers, I understand how to disregard information.
And Your Honor, in order to keep it narrow, I will ask Detective Walker, based on your review of Mr. Patton's history, did you learn that he had a current open charge that included possession of a handgun by a person under the age of 18?
I would object to leading, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I was trying to keep it narrow. I'll be happy to ask him what all the charges were that he was arrested for.
I'm going to overrule the objection, ask your question, and answer the question, Detective Walker.
Detective Walker, based on your investigation of Mr. Patton's criminal history, did you learn that he had a current open charge of possession of a handgun by a person under the age of 18?
I did.
Okay. And do you see Mr. Patton on video?
I do.
If you would just point him out and kind of try to describe him.
Mask, red jumpsuit, white shirt.
Thank you. Your Honor, if the court would take notice that Detective Walker has identified Cameron Patton. And Detective Walker, to be certain, Mr. Nathan was able to identify Patton based on what kind of history between them?
He was able to identify him because they went to middle school together. He was able to advise me where Cameron worked at, which was the JR Cricket. Myself and another detective did arrive at the JR Cricket, able to identify his name, his date of birth, his address.
And the information, and I'll ask you this way. If your narrative lists Mr. Patton's workplace as the Juicy Crab, would that narrative likely be correct, or what you're testifying to now?
No, it is that this is what Nathan advised me. He did advise me that Cameron worked at the Juicy Crab as a greeter.
Okay, and so you went to the place that Nathan identified Mr. Patton is working at, and you were able to get his name and all that other information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it was consistent with what Nathan reported to you?
That is correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Rogers?
Thank you. Detective Walker, just a few questions. You're the lead detective on this case?
I am.
And you've had a chance to review all reports, statements, videos.
What all reports?
You tell me, you're the lead detective, so I'm asking you. Have you?
There's only one report.
Okay. Well, have you had an opportunity to view all reports,
yes,
statements, and video?
Yes.
And so just so I'm clear, you're saying that there's only one report?
No, there is a second report, but this is the report that I'm investigating.
Right, that's what I'm asking about is reports related to the incident that we're here about right now.
The report that I'm testifying is the one I'm working on. There is another report. I briefly looked over it a little bit, but I did not intentionally look through that report. There is another report related to this report, but I'm not really looking over that report.
Okay, so just want to be clear, you have had an opportunity, but you have not really looked over that report.
That's correct. I briefly looked over it, but I'm investigating this report, not that report.
And as you understand it, Nathan is going to the Wayfield Foods, is that correct?
That's correct.
For what purpose?
According to Nathan, he advised me that he and three other guys came to pick him up. They were taking at his house in Hampton. They all got in the car and the white Sebring came back to the Wayfield to drop off the friend that worked at Wayfield because that friend was on lunch break.
Okay, so they were returning their friend to work after the lunch break, and
Yes.
while they're there, Nathan goes in and gets $500 off the ATM. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And does he say what he's getting the $500 for?
He actually said he was getting it for tithes. He owed tithes to his church.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said he was getting ready to pay back, basically
Tithes.
back.
He was giving back his tithes. That's what he advised me.
Okay. What day was this?
June the 30th.
Do you know what day of the week that would have been on?
Let me think about it right now. I can look it up. I don't know what day that is.
And did he show? Now, let me ask. I know there's been some discussion of video. Have you seen any video of him in the Wayfield or at the ATM or anything like that?
I did see video of him inside of the Wayfield. The camera did not pick up the ATM itself, but there is video of Nathan inside of the Wayfield.
And then, as you understand it, when he comes out of the Wayfield Foods, well, let me ask, what time of day is this?
This is 3-ish, 3:30
PM, I'm assuming.
p.m.
And when he comes out, he claims he sees. Well, let me ask about that part. Is he saying that when he is walking out of the Wayfield is when he claims he sees Cameron sitting in the back of the back seat of a Camaro?
That's what his testimony. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so he's walking, and he sees somebody in the back seat of this Camaro, and is the front seat open when he goes?
And according to his testimony, he sees Cameron in the back seat, and he gets into the passenger side of the car.
And there was discussion about a Sebring pulling up next to the Camaro.
Yes, sir.
And Nathan getting out.
Now, this is what I observed on the video recording. The Chevy Camaro pulls in, and it appears that the white Sebring also pulls in. They see each other, and in the rear of the parking lot, like if you're facing the Wayfield, kind of like the rear, the Camaro pulls up and parks. The white Sebring comes around and it parks. You see Nathan in the video get out of the Sebring and get into the passenger side of the car.
Let me ask, the Sebring, when it comes to the Camaro, is Nathan already in the car at that point?
No, he's actually in the Sebring.
Right, that's what I'm asking. So he's walking outside, sees Cameron in the Camaro, then gets into a Sebring, which drives to the Camaro. Is that correct?
There you go.
And he gets out of his vehicle and into the Camaro. What's he getting in the Camaro for?
That's why he said he saw Cameron and he gets in the Camaro to say hello.
Now, at any point, do you see anybody get out of the front passenger seat of that Camaro?
Cameron's in the passenger seat. No, now keep in mind, he said that Cameron was already in the back seat when
Right.
Nathan got into the passenger seat.
That's my question is, when he first sees Cameron, Cameron is in the back seat, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No one is in the passenger seat?
That's correct.
And then Nathan gets into the open passenger seat.
That's correct.
And what I'm asking is, when you see the Camaro arrive, do you ever see anyone get out of that Camaro?
I do not.
And so, fresh off of getting $500 out the ATM, Nathan hops into the front seat of a car because he just saw a friend of his in the back seat. That's your understanding?
That is his testimony, sir.
Okay. And as far as people who are inside this Camaro, it's just 2 occupants and Nathan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so the allegations and the version about what's going on and the purpose of this interaction, all that's coming from Nathan. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I thought you said on direct that he jumped out of the car and then was shot. Is that the sequence of events?
According to Nathan, when they made the left onto the on the Flint River, he jumped out the car, and that's when he was shot, and his money was taken away from him.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm doing this off memory, but I'm gonna look for the report to confirm. But as I understand it, Nathan says they were going about 70 miles an hour when he jumps out. Is that correct?
That's what he said.
Okay. And so he's saying that he jumps out of a car moving at 70 miles an hour, and the driver's able to fire a shot at him and shoot him after he has jumped out of the car.
That's what he said.
All right. And when is the money supposed to have been taken?
As he was jumping out the car, the money was taken from him.
So he's jumping out the car with his money in hand?
That's what he said, sir.
Okay.
Because he said that, if memory serves me correct, as he was jumping out the car, yeah, the money was in his hand from what I remember.
Okay, so the $500 for ties that he had just gotten out the ATM, he still had it in hand when he got into the Camaro.
That's what he said, sir.
Has anyone asked if Nathan was armed that day?
I may have asked that, but I don't remember if I asked that question.
Have any shell casings been recovered?
There were shell cases.
I'm sorry, what was the answer?
There were shell cases.
Okay.
From what I remember.
I thought I heard it the first time, but the second time now, I'm not sure. Are you saying there are, as in yes, there are shell casings that were
I would have
recovered?
to, may I look at the case file?
Okay.
Attorney Rogers, as of now, I don't see if there was any cases picked up. I don't see it.
Okay, thank you. And let me make sure I'm clear on who, to your knowledge, do you know who actually reported the incident? Like, was it the hospital, a gunshot response? Like, how do you know how it came to law enforcement attention?
Who made the actual 911 call?
Right.
May I check ops cast, please?
Yes, sir. If you,
Who made the 911 call?
he's checking. He said,
Okay.
check.
It appears that someone named Cynthia made the phone call.
I'm sorry, could you say it one more time?
It appears someone named Cynthia made the phone call.
Do you know who that is or how they're connected to?
I'm not sure who that is.
And just probably maybe just two more questions, maybe just one more actually. As far as you know, was there a tithe box or an offering plate in the Camaro?
That I don't know. And we still don't have that Camaro.
No further questions.
You made me smile on that last question, Mr. Rogers. Any redirect, Ms. Pitts?
No, Your Honor.
May Detective Walker be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any other witnesses?
Not from the state judge, no.
Okay, Mr. Rogers, do you have any witnesses?
No, sir, Your Honor, just an argument.
Okay. Are you gonna waive opening?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Rogers, and Detective Walker, you can be excused or you can stick around if you want to, sir.
Thank you, Judge. I'll stick around for a minute.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Judge, this really comes down to a very simple argument. Nathan lying. Nathan is lying, just straight up. That doesn't even make sense, Shauna, that he would go to a Wakefield at 3 o'clock, mind you. So unless he was going to the 6 o'clock service that day or something, or I guess maybe the next morning, he not going to church with his $500. And then you hop in a Camaro with an open front seat, the money still in your hand, your car pulls up and meets these people, and now you telling us that, oh, this was just all a big coincidence. They just happened to run into me while I had $500 handy to go to take to the tithe. And then I was just on my, basically, he basically was coming straight from getting baptized, let Nathan tell it. And he was just doing the, just spreading the gospel. Come on. Then this idea that somehow the driver is just, deadwood dick. So this man jumping out of the car at 70 miles an hour, mind you. I didn't hear any discussion of road rash. He jumped out the car. Somehow the driver keeps driving at 70 miles an hour and somehow fires a shot, presumably out of the passenger window and back, because that's what it would take to hit somebody if they jump out your car at 70 miles an hour and you shot them after they jumped out the car. Mind you, the $500 is somehow still just in his hand so they can grab it as he's jumping out the car. This is just preposterous, Shauna. Nathan is alive. For those reasons, I would ask that the court dismiss for lack of probable cause. Thank you.
You made me smile twice, but I'm going to listen to Ms. Pitts.
Your Honor, and these are going to be awesome arguments for trial. However, for probable cause, I believe that the evidence is sufficient for the court to find that there are consistencies in what Nathan reported having happened. The officer testified that he saw Nathan inside of the Wayfield, that he saw him then return to a Sebring with 2 other people and a third person who worked at the Wayfield. He saw the vehicle that he described pull up next to him. And unless Nathan had access to the CCTV at Wayfield, I mean, it's consistent. enough for probable cause. Additionally, he identified Nathan by name. He gave him where he worked. The officers were able to go to that location, verify the information. I think that Mr. Rogers is going to kill it at the closing trial. However, for probable cause, the state has met its burden.
Mr. Rogers, this was my baseball coach would say, and he's from Bessemer, Alabama, some in the water ain't clean. But it doesn't mean that this person could not have committed the offenses that are alleged. And I don't believe that the story that's being told is the correct story. But it doesn't mean that a person with $500 didn't get robbed. May mean that person didn't get what they were expecting to get from the situation. So I'm gonna bind it over, but I think Miss Pitts is right. I mean, I think state's gonna have a hard road on this with a jury of 12 people to believe this story. But I think that will come out in the wash, and you're a great lawyer. I'm sure you'll find it. And but I'm binding these charges over to Superior Court. But there's something else going on. I mean, I can just look at this and in my opinion, and I'm not going to ask for anybody else. There's something else going on here. But it doesn't mean that this person was not robbed of their money. So Mr. Patton can go back, and we're going to bring up Mr. Robinson, Christopher Robinson.
That's correct, Your Honor. And can Detective Walker be excused?
Yes, Detective Walker, you are excused, sir. And for the future, you need to stop stalking me.
Okay,
So I can feel safe in my community.
Okay, Judge.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
quick
Oh.
statement. There are a couple inmates that are saying that they want to waive their hearing. So I just wanted to go in front of the court and let you know that personally.
Okay, can you just give us those names?
If you want, and one, I would take this off of YouTube, and
yes.
because the only attorneys